The Colorado Rockies joined the MLB as a professional baseball team in the year 1993 and were placed inside the NL West division, meaning they recently celebrated their 30th year at the major leagues. And in those 30 years, the Rockies have enjoyed 5 playoff appearances, including a World Series appearance in 2007, though they have not won the pennant. Now, 5 playoff appearances in 30 years, certainly not the worst, but I think you can do a lot better than 1 appearance every 6 years. But even more concerning than a lack of playoff appearances would be a lack of success in the division for these Rockies, as they have been part of the NL West for 30 years and have yet to win the division even once, which ties them for the most of all time for consecutive years without a division championship, and alongside the Pittsburgh Pirates are the only ones to have never have done it. What makes matters worse is that this division does not seem to be getting any easier, as the Dodgers, a team with seemingly infinite payroll, recently signed who was viewed by many as the best player in baseball, Shohei Ohtani, to a $700 million contract over 10 years, among other great players in the offseason. The Diamondbacks just represented the National League in the World Series and has a roster full of young players that figures to only get better, so they should be good for a while. And then you have the Padres, who have some stars such as Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado, and Xander Bogaerts still on the roster, despite losing Juan Soto in the offseason. This team certainly has the top-end talent to be good as long as they can find the pieces around them to maximize their roster. So, what do you do with a team that has very little in terms of past success and even less hope for the future? Well, you burn it all down and you start anew, and that will be the plan here in this franchise. To do this, I will be releasing the entire 40-man roster after the first season of the franchise and building from there with just the prospects that are left, as well as draft picks from both the Rule 5 and rookie drafts, sprinkling in the occasional prospect trade, though they will be rare, which I know isn't technically draft only, but I'll get to it here as we will go through the acquisition rules right now. Number 1, the grand majority, of course, of our additions will be coming through the Rule 5 and the rookie drafts that we do every year. I will be able to sign free agents, but only undrafted rookies from the previous draft class, no actual players or prospects that have been in the league for multiple years. And I will also be able to do 3 trades total throughout this franchise. Now, I can't just do any trade, trade for Ronald Acuna. They've got to be for players that are not on the 40-man roster. They cannot be more than 2-for-1 swaps. And the players I include have to have at least high C potential. And that's going to be the rule set for this series. Now, let's take a look at our starting roster. Now, why would we look at the starting roster if we're just going to release anybody? Anyway, I want to just show you what we're working with. Now, I recorded this at a time when the entirety of the ratings were not released, but the 40-man roster was made available, and look at just how bad what we have to work with here. The only guy over 80 overall is Daniel Bard. He's also the only guy with A potential, and he's 38 years old. You got some older guys with B potential there, but the only guy that has any sort of youth and also B potential is a guy like Nolan Jones at 66 overall. That's might be your highest potential, long-term player on the 40-man roster. I mean, we're not getting rid of much. For being honest, Ezequiel Tovar is even younger, 62 with B potential. You could argue he's the best long-term player on the 40-man roster. The point is, there's a reason we're tearing this thing down to the studs. Dale Amador and Yanquiel Fernandez. There are a couple other young guys that are on the 40-man roster that will not be eligible for our rebuild. So, The following ratings I'm showing you are from MLB the Show 23, so they're probably not going to be exactly what we get in the new game. I just wanted to use this to show you kind of what we will likely be working with as our best prospects for the game. And we're going to start with Chase Dollander, just selected with the Rockies' first round pick in the 2023 draft, a player out of the University of Tennessee who was regarded as a top 2 pick prior to his final season at Tennessee. Did not have his best year there, so he fell down the board right into the Rockies' laps at number 9. We're hoping that he can get back to that top 2 prospect status he had prior to that last year. He will be, our main player likely. Zach Veen here has an A potential in MLB the Show 23. I'm not sure he'll be keeping that for the next game, and I'll show you why I think that in just a moment. But still, I think regardless of whether he drops down to B or not, I think he'll be a good outfield prospect for us. Has the potential to develop into a bit of a power hitter. Benny Montgomery here, more of a defender with some eventual MLB upside. Drew Romo, a catcher, switch hitter. Not much doing offensively, but he looks like he could eventually be a good hitter versus lefties, perhaps. But nice to have an option at catcher to start. And then one guy who had low potential in MLB the Show 23 that I think it's going to get boosted would be Jordan Beck. So he also, profiles as a guy who could eventually hit lefties, but these are kind of the only guys that I think will have either A or B potential in the next game. Not a ton to start out with, and the reason I think that it'll be the case is due to the top 100 prospects in the MLB. It feels like the game uses this to rank their prospects, at least with the opening day roster, quite a bit. You see our number 1 guy there was Adele Amador. He is not eligible for this franchise, so you have to go all the way down to 52 to find the best Rockies prospect with Dollander. Yanquiel Fernandez at 72. He's not eligible. Then you get Jordan Beck at 81, which is why I think his potential won't be D if he's a top 100 prospect. And then if you go down, there is no Zach Veen, which is why I think his potential won't be A. He'll probably get nerfed, as he is not regarded currently as a top 100 prospect at the time of this recording. So that is all I've got for my episode 0 team reveal of my MLB The Show 24 franchise. If you watched my MLB The Show 23 draft only franchise, this is kind of my new take on it. I think this will be just a better format that will help the series maybe just last a little bit longer and be less repetitive than that previous one. I had a lot of fun, but I think this one will be even better. So if you have any suggestions as to how this series should go, please let me know in the comment section below, just in terms of episode format or any thoughts you have. Episode 1 should be coming out either March 15th or 16th. I do have the deluxe version that lets me get the game early, but it just depends on if I can get it that one extra day early by taking a little trip over to New Zealand. But whichever day it ends up being, I'm very excited, and I'll see you then.